Good evening. Our July 11th, 2019 Longview City Council meeting is now called to order. Tonight, our invocation and pledge will be led by Madeline Caldwell and Aurora Egbe. Madeline is an 11-year-old approaching the 6th grade at Hallsville Junior High. She has been a tenderfoot member for Scout Troop 201 of Longview since February of 2019. Aurora is working towards becoming a tenderfoot and has completed her requirements for Scout rank. She's 11 years old and attends Spring Hill Junior High, where she is also an approaching 6th grader. Please rise.
Please take off any non-religious headgear. Dear Lord, please help us to all have a great night tonight and travel home safely. Please help us all to open this meeting with joy and stuff. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madeline and Aurora, thank you all very much for coming and doing that for us. That's not an easy thing to do, but we appreciate your courage to stand up there and open our meeting for us. Y'all were amazing. Tonight, our employee recognition, we're recognizing the mail and the distribution office. Would you have imagined that the city of Longview sends close to 250,000 pieces of mail a year? 53,000 from the courts, 26,000 from EMS and fire services, and over 180,000 from water utilities. Our mail and distribution offices provide essentially the same services of a post office, including sorts, processing, postage, and coordination of certified and express mail, along with package delivery to our officials and personnel. The city has locations throughout every corner of Longview, and the mail is delivered whether rain or shine. We have only one lady that tends those needs, and that is Miss Beverly Chalk. Come on up, Beverly. Can you believe that? 250,000? One lady. This is one talented girl, and she's special. Especially, we go back a long way. We graduated high school together. We've known each other for a long time, and it just makes me so proud to see my classmates standing up here doing such a wonderful job for City of Longview. You make people smile every day, girl. You always have since high school. You never lost that beautiful smile of yours, but you do it with such joy and energy, and all things that she does is done with a wonderful, wonderful heart. So this girl deserves another round of applause for helping our mail service go out every single day. Thank you, sweetie. No. Come on up here. We're the class of 78 group picture right here. That's right. I said class of 98, I meant. 98. 2008 never looked better. Okay, for my community recognition tonight, I'm not seeing, maybe they're here. If they are, they'll come up. If they're not, I'm gonna recognize them anyway, because I don't know how many of you all attended our Fireworks and Freedom celebration on July the 4th. It was an amazing event once again at Moncob and the fairgrounds, and so many people are involved in putting that together, and it's just it's a labor of love. City staff, y'all. We're going to recognize you at some point in time. Laura, Leisha, all of you all, Dixie, I mean, the whole crew, you all are spot on every year at that, and I appreciate you very much. But, you know, we also have volunteers that help us, and we have sponsors that help put on the festivities out there, because, you know, that fireworks show and the bands and all that concert and all, that's not free. We pay for that. And we have sponsors that come out and help us provide that for the community, and it's such a great civic event, and I'm just, you know, there were 15,000+ people in attendance on the grounds that night. No telling how many people were outside, all along the streets. Every parking lot was full of people, and it's just a great event. But, you know, in the tent we have for our sponsors, we have people that help in that as well. But tonight I'm going to recognize 3 men who came out there tonight came out there on the 4th of July, and they helped serve the food because El Sombrero catered it, and they do a great job, and Mike Kittner is involved with that, but Mike wasn't there. But the guys that are there that helped do that are amazing. Baldemiro Cruz, Jose Corona, and Joe Kittner. Y'all come on up, please. These 3 guys got there early, and they prepared the food, they provided the food, and they served the food. And we all sat in the nice covered tent with the fan blowing, and they did not. There's no room in the tent for them. They were outside that tent, and they were there the entire duration of the fireworks display, through the whole process, and they had to clean up afterwards. And so, it's enough that you donate the food to us, but to serve us as the way you did, to me, that's just the heart of a servant in the community, and that's what makes Longview so great. That's what makes El Sombrero so great, but that's what makes you guys special. And I want you to know how much I appreciate you being there. You made everybody there feel comfortable. You made sure there was plenty of food, and you served them well. And so I want to say thank you publicly for what you did. Y'all are awesome. Thank you, sir. Hold on, one more. Come on, Justin. You got it. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you very much. Thank you. Now this is fun. We're going to have our Mayor for the Day presentation honoree. Jillian Kane is our honorary mayor for the day. We're going to have her come up in just a second. I just want you to know something about Jillian. She's 5 years old, which is all it takes to be the mayor. A day, a week, a month, a year, whatever. She's 5 years old, entering kindergarten. She has an older sister, Madeline. She loves soccer, gymnastics, running races, babies, Wonder Woman, and princesses. Her favorite colors are pink, teal, and orange. She wants to be a dentist or a doctor when she grows up. And I'm just so honored to have her come up. So Jillian, come on up. Yeah. Thanks, Steve. Come on, right up here with me. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna read this because this is all about you. And this was an auction item done for School for Little Children for a fundraiser. You know, I'm always happy to do things like this. If it helps something in Longview raise money and we can do something, this is what community support's all about. So Jillian, honorary mayor for the day. Whereas in support of School for Little Children's Carnival and Silent Auction event that was held on March the 2nd, 2019, and on behalf of the City of Longview, this certificate grants Jillian Kane the honorary award of Mayor for a Day. Whereas the School for Little Children exists to provide an atmosphere that cultivates children's unique characteristics, they also provide a loving and nurturing environment where children can experience the love of Jesus through Christian teaching and caring support. So now, therefore, I, Andy Mack, by the authority vested in me as Mayor, City of Longview, do proclaim on July 11, 2019, honorary mayor for the day, Jillian Kane in the City of Longview. Yay. Congratulations, sweetheart. Here, you hold this right there. Hold that. Look right there. Okay, now, you're going to go sit in that chair and finish this meeting, and I'm going to go sit back there. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Precious.
Madam Mayor's a lot cuter than you.
Isn't that true? Smarter, too. There's no question about that. Very good, very good. And thank you all, School for Little Children, for doing that. I know it's something that you all don't have to do, but I appreciate you doing it, and it's always fun to get to see those young children come in and sit up here with us. So we are now to citizen comment. I do have a few speaker cards. Miss Ann Jackson.
I'm coming, I'm just there.
Oh, okay. Come on, take your time, ma'am.
How's everyone doing today? Thank you for allowing us to speak. Just a couple of little things. I really want to say thank you to a company here in Longview, because a lot of people think that we do not have exotic veterinarians in the city, and they will even sometimes take in wildlife. And Walmart had a fledgling that nobody knew what to do with, and I said, I think I know where to take it. So I really want to say thank you to West Loop Animal Clinic or Emergency Hospital. They really have taken in several, and I want to thank them for doing that. I know that Dr. Flanagan's very good in my opinion, and there are a couple of other vets there that do exotics. So I'd love to get the word out that yes, we actually do have a vet clinic that does exotics, and I really appreciate what they've done. The little one didn't make it, but at least it had a better chance than me trying to take care of it. So I was pretty impressed that they were willing to take it. Something just that I keep hearing around the city that kind of concerns me is people are like, well, I won't paint my house. I'll do the inside, but I'm not going to do the outside. And I'm like, okay, well, what's the problem? And they said, well, once we improve the outside, they're going to go up on our taxes. Now, I don't know if this is a significant increase or not, but I've actually had quite a few people say this, and it's one of the cheapest ways that you can make an improvement to the community and stuff, but I've just heard it a lot, so I thought I would just make brief mention of it. So I don't know how accurate it is or anything. Another kind of concern, which I know the city really can't do anything about, but is that Christus clinics, they will not take people who do not have a phone number. So I work with the homeless, as you're kind of aware of. It just concerns me because that forces them to use the hospital. And I worked in emergency medicine, and our goal was to try to get them out of the hospitals when it's not something that's a true emergency. This actually is kind of hindering. I'm like, what are these people supposed to do that don't have a phone? And they said, well, they can provide a phone number, but we have to be able to get them on that phone. I'm like, well, they're giving you their friend's phone number, but they don't live with that friend. So it's just kind of, I don't find it real Christian, and I find it kind of concerning because what are our homeless supposed to do? Longview has a wonderful reputation with helping the homeless. So it's just something that I find needs to be improved, and I think people need to be a little bit aware of that with Christus, and I'm hoping that they'll change. Thank you guys for listening to me. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and God bless.
Thank you. Mr. John Harris.
I may be a moment premature, but I understand the city is building a new municipal complex across South Street, south of here. Some of these buildings, or a portion of them, may be vacated when that's done. A portion of this complex would make an ideal senior citizen center. I'm confident we could arrange volunteer labor and contributions to repurpose it when the time comes. I'll also be willing to serve on the committee that you're talking about developing to looking at if the council and the committee are interested. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I have no more speaker cards. We are now to presentation item. We will do a presentation and discussion on forming a senior advisory committee. Mr. Karen.
Good evening, Mayor.
Oh, excuse me. Is there a speaker card? What? But didn't you said action item? You want to talk during the action item? Or you want to talk now?
Oh.
It's up to you. It just says action, so I thought you want to do it during the action item.
I can talk to her. Okay.
It's up to you, sir. If you want to speak now, you're welcome to. You will get to speak in the action item if you want to.
Okay.
I thought that would be more appropriate for you.
Probably so.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Don't worry, I've got your card. I just didn't call you up right now. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry. Good evening.
Carry on.
Mayor, City Council, Mr. Bonds, here tonight to talk about the potential for a senior advisory committee. And so just to kind of give you a little bit of background as to why we're here, We've been approached by a number of residents that are concerned about senior issues, and I'll kind of cover that as we move through the presentation briefly. So Green Street was acquired by the city in '71. It was remodeled and updated in 1979. It's approximately 7,000 square feet. And that's a picture of the outside and a picture of the inside. And there are a couple of breakout rooms for board games and other activities, and a computer class that's over there as well. Some of the programs and activities that occur on a monthly basis or a weekly basis in those facilities are listed here. We put out a calendar of events and we post that through social media, and I don't believe currently it's on the website, but again, that's one of the things that we can post on our website as to all of the activities and things that occur within that facility. So the reason we had a meeting with a number of residents back in February was that the senior circle was closing. That was a program that was offered in a facility that was offered by Longview Regional Medical Center that catered to similar events, activities, and things that occurred at our senior center down at Green Street. But then also Classic Care, which was a program that Christus Good Shepherd had offered, had closed the year before that. So now we went from essentially offering 3 senior centers or 3 senior services programs down to 1. And so the concern was the capacity of the current facility that we have at Green Street, but then also a number of other programs and outlets for them to be able to participate. And so one of the outcomes of all of this is tried to be able to coordinate the activities, events, and things that could go on within our community. We were asked to put together this committee that could address some of these types of issues. And so what we've done is put together the purpose, which is listed here, and you guys can read too, but essentially is trying to address some of the needs that these folks may have within our community. Along with that purpose, we wanted to establish what those goals, what they would be doing. Again, asking somebody to serve on a committee is one thing, but usually the first question is, well, what do I have to do, or what are we trying to accomplish? And so that's what we've tried to put together, some of the goals and activities. And essentially what we're looking at is being able to have that conduit between our residents and our staff, and making sure that we're addressing the needs of this community from a facility standpoint and a programming standpoint. And it may not be something that the city itself can fully fund or operate in a number of different issues and items that come forward with that, but we can determine what those resources are within our community and point people toward them. And so that's kind of the reason and some of the major goals that we have for this. So what we've put together is, as far as proposed for the committee itself, it would be through the Parks and Recreation Department with the liaison, most likely probably from City Council if you guys so choose. What we suggested is 7 members on that committee, host meetings quarterly. Again, that's just depending on what we would move forward with, but then also they would be asked to volunteer at a number of the different events and activities that we have at Green Street and throughout our community as well. And so that's kind of what we have in a nutshell. And Ms. Ishihara's one that has spurned this on for us. And so I'm sure either one of us could provide additional answers to your questions, or she may have some additional comments as well. So,
Any comments from Mr. Karen?
I would just, I do have a comment to add. Just that I think, our community has been really moving in the direction of becoming a certified retirement community. We have wonderful retirement facilities for seniors here. I think that we want to continue that ball rolling, and from our meeting in February is very well attended. And it was immediately obvious to me that there were a lot of people that were interested, that were engaged, that wanted to have some feedback, and there were some things that were very simple. We would like to see iced tea at Green Street as well as coffee. Okay, we can handle that tomorrow. There are things like we'd like to see a new rec center in Longview. Well, we can't handle that one tomorrow, but it became very clear to me that we do need a consistent group of people advocating for this population, listening and responding to needs. I'm always glad to do that, and I think Scott does a great job, but we need to set up systems that are in place to continue that on after we're gone, that won't just go away with an individual or a particular staff member. So the idea really would be just to say this is a priority for our community, just like our other committees are. And we are attuned to this and interested in making this a well-run and functioning for the people that would use it. So.
Might each of us nominate one person?
Oh, well, I guess we should talk about that. We could do nominations. I kind of envisioned it being the application process, just like our other committees, because it
It'll be
will.
just like the other boards and commissions that we have. There'll be applications that'll be filled out. Our liaisons to that board and commission application will go through that, formalize it, and then bring it before council to finalize. But certainly feel free to people you think would like to, you would nominate, you would ask them to fill out an application and send it in, and that will be considered for approval on this new board.
Right, so the goal would be just to have it be ongoing, just like animal shelter or housing or transit or anybody that continues on indefinitely rather than a task force that's looking at a singular issue. I certainly have some things that I would like for them to look at, but it would really be just placing a priority on that segment of our community so that we are always going to have that avenue.
The members of the committee, would they necessarily have to be seniors per se?
No, just
Okay.
interested, I would say.
All right.
Yeah, you don't have to all be old.
I'm just wondering.
You know, certain committees have certain requirements within the city. Certain committees, you have to be a resident of the city of Longview, you have to live in the city limits, those things. We will iron that out and then be able to formulate some guidelines if necessary, and then have applications sent in, and then go through the formal process like you and David, Mr. Wright, do all the time. Okay.
When do you think this committee will start? Next year when we pick committees again, select members for committees, or?
Since we just did that, I'd rather do it now.
I think we can do it between now and then for sure. Once we get Scott and Kristen get together and get some parameters, and then we need to determine how large we want the committee to be, because as with any committee, the more members there are, the harder it is to get things done. So you don't want to overdo this. You want to keep it simple, and then once you have reached those parameters, we'll get applications, and we'll do that as a special deal through one of our meetings. Shouldn't take more than a month or so.
So if
No,
we-
I would anticipate possibly starting in October with the new fiscal year. That way, just
Sounds great.
And I think Scott was recommending 7 members, so if we opened up applications in the next, 30-ish days, then we
Sure.
could accomplish that to start in October.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Karen.
Thanks, Scott.
Any other questions, council? Very good. Public safety update. Chief Bishop.
Mayor, Matt, council members, Mr. Bonds, good evening. I'd like to start my update tonight by thanking Heritage at Longview. This past Monday, Heritage invited the police and fire out for a luncheon, and I want to thank them for showing the appreciation that they showed both police and fire on Monday by providing a lunch for the officers and the firefighters that come out there and attended the luncheon. This morning we had our annual Tenure Awards breakfast for the city employees that had various tenure awards. I want to congratulate Miranda Davis on her 20 years of service and Mike Grisham on his 35 years of service. And we had 2 that were not present, Officer Ben Easley for 5 years of service, and Detective James Reeves for his 10 years of service to the police department. I'd like to take a minute and congratulate the son of one of our officers, Assistant Chief Anthony Boone. His son, Carter Boone, recently applied for and was accepted to the FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia for their youth leadership program. This is a very competitive program that the FBI puts forth for youth of officers that have graduated from the FBI National Academy. Chief Boone is a graduate of the Academy, and his son Carter was one of 2 individuals from the state of Texas and one of 56 from across the United States that was selected to participate in this program. And he graduated from that youth leadership program, and just want to thank him for representing the state of Texas and the city of Longview in this nationally recognized program for youth of officers that have graduated from the academy. Last week we finished our 5th summer camp for the year. This year we were able to do 5 summer camps for the youth. We partnered up with different organizations, the Longview Police Explorers, the Boys and Girls Club of Big Pines, Pine Tree Parkway Elementary and Laternal University hosted 2 of our summer camps this year. In a total through these 5 summer camps, we were able to have over 100 youth participate in these different programs. And we had some time to spend with them, talking with them about safety. This year we were able to incorporate the fire department's Stop the Bleed program with our Police Explorer Camp and teach them a little bit about the program that the fire department has for that. We taught bicycle safety, got to show off some of our equipment, and they all loved the K-9 demonstrations. So they got to spend time with the K-9 officers and basically just spent a lot of time talking about safety and teaching them more about what public safety does, both on the police and fire side. We have a few seats still available for our free women's safety course that'll be July 22nd through the 26th. Anyone that's interested in attending this can go to longviewtexas.gov/women's safety and fill out an application, and that course will be starting on July 22nd. It's also time again for us to start thinking about National Night Out. We'll be having our National Night Out kickoff party on Tuesday, September 3rd at 6 p.m. That'll be at Mod Cobb. Anybody that's interested in hosting a National Night Out party, we encourage them to come to the National Night Out kickoff party, register their event, and we'll have some information to hand out during this event. We're also beginning to take applications for our annual Citizens Police Academy. That will start on September 5th, Thursday, September 5th. That'll be on Tuesday and Thursday nights for approximately 7 weeks from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And I encourage anybody that wants to learn more about the police department and how we operate can find an application at longviewtexas.gov/CPA. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Chief Bishop? Thank you, sir. Chief Tillman.
Mayor Matt, members of council, Mr. Bonds, thank you for the opportunity to update you on some things that have been going on in the fire department since our last meeting. First and foremost, at the top of our list is we're in the process of recovery from our straight line wind event back on May the 8th. And Mayor, you'll remember signing a disaster declaration, and that is what got the ball started of working this through the state process for the recovery aspect that we're at today. So the first step of the recovery as far as helping our citizens kind of get back on their feet from some of this, and I realize almost 2 months has gone by, but is this SBA loan program. And I'm happy to report that we have qualified for that first level of assistance, and that process will actually kick off here in Longview next Tuesday. Now, there's about an 8-day window that people that were affected by that storm will have the opportunity to come and visit with these people from the SBA Association to see what level of assistance they may qualify for to help them continue in that recovery effort. You know, the work out there is ongoing. There's still a lot of houses that have blue tarps on top of them. So those people that suffered that negative impact from that straight line wind event, we highly encourage them to take a part of this program to see what level of assistance they may be afforded. I can't stress that enough. So we're very fortunate to have this here in town, and certainly hope that our residents will take the time to take advantage of it. Stop the Bleed. Chief Bishop mentioned our efforts to stop the bleed. We continue that. I want to give a quick appreciation out to our Lacy and Company. They had us up to their business there on Tyler Street. We had all of their employees there in that facility go through the Stop the Bleed training, and I applaud them for taking that step to make sure that they're able to keep their employees safe. Got to give congratulations out to our training section chief, Andy Parker, who is a recent graduate of the Texas Fire Chiefs Academy, where he earned the professional designation of Certified Fire Executive. So great step in his career. We look forward to continued bright things out of him. And on the same note, Battalion Chief Kevin Fowl, his classmate in that program, both of these guys finished that. It's about a 2-year-long process. So it's just part of that continued upward mobility and succession planning going on within the fire department, and I certainly appreciate the effort they put into it. We recently did our Summer Safety Day. This is an annual thing that we collaborate with the Department of Family Protective Services, the Longview Police Department, Longview Parks and Rec, Longview Fire Department. We set a day aside to spend some time out at one of the city pools talking to the children and the kids and the adults about the importance of pool and hot car safety. So just a little video there of some of the activities going on with the kids in the pool. They're going to flip that boat over and figure out how to get back in it, and shortly following this, you'll see them throwing doing some of the reach, throw, row, go simulations for a swimmer in distress of how to properly try and offer assistance to that swimmer so that you don't get yourself in a bind. So they're practicing there with a rope throw bag. Just a great day, great afternoon. All the kids had a great time. We were very fortunate. I think we had about 3 bus loads of daycare and school kids that showed up. So it was well worth the time and effort. So I want to thank everybody that collaborated with that. And on the hot car front, you can see this is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The temperature inside of that police vehicle is 154 degrees. And you can imagine that it doesn't take long for a small child or an elderly person, should it be the case, to have a very detrimental medical impact from being in that environment. And it's important to note that so far in 2019, there have been 53 kids drowned in the state of Texas, and there's been 4 hot car deaths. And we know that we're not immune to those here in our area. So it's another reason why we think this is an important effort to put forth and to make sure that we're getting that message out there in the community. Family Feud, you mentioned the fireworks demonstration. Well, before the big fireworks demonstration, there was a smaller version of some fireworks going on the stage in Maud Cobb with the Family Feud tournament. I'm proud to report that the fire department took that trophy again this year, so it's always a great time. I'm happy I get to be a part of that and contribute where I can, but we're looking forward to that one again for next year, so we're gonna keep on keeping on. So another W for the fire department. I'll echo Chief Bishop's sentiment to Heritage Healthcare and Rehab for having our first responders out for lunch earlier this week. Any time that the community wants to wrap their arms around us, we'll take that all we can get. And it was a great fellowship to sit around there and enjoy a meal and just be the recipients of that appreciation, and we thank them for that time. Tenure breakfast this morning. We also had some employees from the fire department. Pictured there with me are 4 of our 7 that were recognized this morning. There just to my left in the picture is a firefighter medic Brad Conrado with 5 years, firefighter medic Jeff Garrison with 10 years, firefighter medic Josh Stelly with 5 years, and Lieutenant Adam Deary with 20 years. And another 3 that weren't able to be there were Brad Bill with 20 years of service, Jimmy Lawrence with 10 years of service, and Chris Shirley with 5 years of service. So congratulations to all of them on their tenure mark. It's getting hot outside. Everybody knows it. And we've had some, the heat indices in the last couple of days or weeks has been anywhere between 105 and 110 degrees. So we just encourage people to be familiar with the differences of heat stroke and heat exhaustion. And if there's any doubt any of that's going on, and we're already starting to see the 911 calls coming in, but do not hesitate calling 911 because that's something that you need to get to sooner rather than later. So just pay attention to one another. And again, this primarily is targeted at the young and the elderly, but it can happen to any of us. You know, just doing yard work, it'll really zap you and take it out of you. So please be aware of that. And CodeRED. I'll keep preaching this one, CodeRED. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Our city participates with it. Just last night, we had a 36-mile-an-hour wind gust event that came through town just out of nowhere. And had that turned into something more, you would certainly want to know what was going on, and CodeRED is our way of getting that message out there. So we highly encourage our residents to take advantage of this free service. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Chief Stillman? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, no. Right? Go ahead.
I was interested in that one date that the SBA is coming out again.
The SBA, yes, sir. Let me back up. It starts on Tuesday. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Richard. So it starts on Tuesday, July the 16th, and they will be in town with us. I believe the 25th is the following Thursday. They're going to be at our training center. The hours of operation right now are scheduled to be 9 in the morning to 6 in the afternoon. That way people getting off work will have time to go down and schedule appointments or visit with these people. Well, I shouldn't say schedule appointments. It's just show up, and these people are going to be there from that time frame. And then if there's some follow-up, I'm sure that they'll want to schedule that with you.
Sure. And is there a number, maybe a phone number or something to contact?
We don't have that yet. We're working to establish that. Hopefully we'll have it tomorrow or Monday, and we'll push that out on the city's website.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. We're now at consent agenda. Any items council like pulled off for separate discussion?
Move to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now to zoning. Have a public hearing to held consider application PD 1904, filed by Monsignor Xavier Papu. Ms. Choi.
Thank you, Mayor Mack, members of council, and Mr. Bonds. The applicant is requesting to rezone from single-family 4 and planned development, which is PD 16-14, to a new planned development, PD 19-04 to allow for the construction of a prayer garden and a columbarium. The original plan development was to construct a prayer garden with a columbarium. However, it was smaller in nature. The footprint was, and the fencing was a little different. The whole site was a little different. For those of you that do not know, a columbarium is an arrangement of openings in a wall in which an urn containing ashes of the deceased are placed. The proposed structure will be constructed of a series of brick walls with approximately 1,000 niches. There will be an outdoor chapel at this site. The overall, like I said previously, the overall site has increased slightly. The project will consist of improving some areas with some statues, fountains, benches, pathways, and landscaping improvements, as well as a 8-foot wooden fence along Dundee Road with a 6-foot wrought iron fence with masonry columns along Arrow Street. All fences will be constructed to meet city codes. Planning and Zoning Commission, along with staff, does recommend approval of this request. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
This does require a public hearing, which is now open. I do have the Reverend here in case there's questions for him. Any questions or comments? Mr. Wright?
I guess
Yes, sir.
there's no health issues with the columbarium.
That is correct. Per the state of Texas Health and Safety Code, cemeteries are not allowed within the city limits of Longview, but columbariums are, as long as they're associated with a religious, associated with a church. Yeah.
No other question?
I assume that there is no sight distance problem with the 8-foot fence and the 6-foot fence at the intersection of Dundee and
That is correct. We've asked them to actually, they had originally on the plan development put the fence all the way up to that point where Arrow and Dundee meet, and we asked them to scale that back some so they're outside of that sight distance.
You can see it in that far corner where the line goes across.
Right.
The public hearing is now closed then. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing held in consider application Z1907, filed by Greg Jones. Ms. Choi.
Thank you. The applicant is requesting to rezone a portion of Lot 1, New City Block 574, Longview Jordan acreage located at 2015 East Marshall Avenue from multifamily 3, or multifamily 2 as you see in this pink, to heavy commercial. The applicant is requesting the rezone in order for the whole property to be zoned the same. Staff does find the proposed zoning change is consistent with the future land use map and surrounding uses. Staff did receive a letter not in support or in opposition, but they just had some questions about drainage issues and buffering issues and fencing issues. All of those will be addressed through the development process. Planning and Zoning Commission, along with staff, recommends approval of this request. I would be happy to answer any questions at this time.
This requires a public hearing, which is now open. Any questions or comments? Public hearing is now closed. David?
Yeah, I do have
Okay.
one question. Ms.
Public hearing is
Joy,
still open.
Yes, sir.
On the back of that looks like that is 3 residential lots there?
They're multifamily lots. I believe they're either triplexes or quadplexes.
Okay. So
Right to the north.
They don't have any issue with...
They're the ones that submitted the letter about, they didn't really have issues about the zoning request. They just had issues about drainage and buffering, but those will be addressed when this site redevelops.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing held to consider application Z1908, filed by Larry Hitt. Ms. Choi.
Thank you. The applicant is requesting to rezone approximately 3.51 acres from agriculture from agriculture to single family 2. The proposed zoning change is consistent with surrounding uses and the future land use map. Staff does recommend approval of this request. I would be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Requires a public hearing, which is now open. Any questions or comments? Public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing, consider application Z19-10, filed by Allen 78 Investment Group, LLC. Ms. Choi.
Thank you. The applicant is requesting to rezone approximately 3.51 acres from agricultural to heavy commercial for a arcade and a roller rink. The property was annexed into the city in 2009. When annexation occurs, the property is automatically assigned an agricultural zoning designation. With a change in use, it needs to be rezoned. Staff does find that the proposed zoning change is consistent with the future land use map and surrounding uses. Planning and Zoning Commission, along with staff, recommends approval of this request. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this
This
time.
requires a public hearing, which is now open. Any comments or questions? I know this, the citizens of Longview would be happy about a roller rink. You know how many comments and I get about that? Can you please, I'm going to develop a roller rink, but I mean, that is something I think is going to be very beneficial to our community. And I applaud these individuals for doing this. I think it's going to be very well received. So public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Public hearing held to consider applications S19-02 filed by Allen 78 Investment Group. Ms. Choi.
Thank you, Mayor Mack. This is the second part of this request. The applicant is requesting a specific use permit to allow for an arcade in heavy commercial zoning district. An SUP is required for an arcade within heavy commercial zoning district to ensure no negative impact on surrounding properties. Staff does find the proposed zoning change is consistent with the future land use map and surrounding uses. Planning and Zoning Commission, along with staff, recommends approval of this request. I would be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Public hearing is now open. Any questions? Public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Public hearing held to consider application HL 19-01 filed by Longview Heritage Tower. Ms. Choi.
Thank you. Longview Heritage Tower LP is requesting a local historic landmark designation for the McWilliams Building. This building is located at the southeast corner of Green and Methvin Streets, addressed as 208 North Green and located within Longview's downtown. The building is 6 stories and originally was built for the McWilliams Furniture Company in 1953. It was designed for ground level retail with office spaces on the upper stories. The applicant is proposing to convert this building into affordable senior housing with some retail on the first floor along the street level. This building is an Art Deco rectangular building with a concrete foundation that is approximately 45,000 square feet and is approximately 50 feet wide and 150 feet deep. This building was designed by an architect named Martin T. Clements with the firm of Vockler and Dixon. That company was also the architectural firm that designed the Gregg County Courthouse. Local historic landmarks must meet one of the criteria listed in the Historic Landmark Ordinance. The McWilliams Building meets several of these criteria. It embodies distinguishing characteristics of an architectural type, period, or method of construction and represents the work of a builder that has influenced development of the city and the state. The McWilliams Building is identified with a person or persons who has significantly contributed to the culture and development of the city and state. Also, it has a value as an aspect of the community sentiment, cultural association, historic heritage, and public pride. The building is also listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Due to its historical, economical, architectural, and cultural significance, staff recommends that the structure be designated as a local landmark. Planning and Zoning Commission, along with staff, recommends approval of this request. I would be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Public hearing is now open. Any questions about this?
I do.
Mr. Bertle?
There's not been a 380 or anything like that discussed on this, has there?
No, sir.
Okay.
And this is the only, this process is for local landmark designation only.
They haven't come to us with a plan for the
No, sir.
revamping of the building yet.
They have submitted building plans, but we have not been approached about a 380 agreement. Yes, sir.
Okay. Does anyone remember that building? Those of you who grew up here with those letters on the top of it? I do not. And of course, I'm young. I graduated in 2008. So yeah, no wonder I didn't remember it. But yeah, that's an incredible structure. So, okay, public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion?
So
Make a
moved.
motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Choi.
Thank you.
We're going to action items. Consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to negotiate, finalize, and execute contract for fleet management services for the city's participation. Mr. Archer.
Mayor, Council, Mr. Bonds, good evening. Tonight, I bring for your consideration a resolution allowing the city manager to negotiate, finalize, and execute an agreement with Enterprise Fleet Management for fleet management services through a cooperative purchasing program. This management service will provide for 195 of our small vehicle fleet. This does not include emergency vehicles at all, any of the PD or fire trucks or any of the larger equipment like that. It includes a maintenance program, the ability to sell these vehicles through their resale network, and then their analytics and their management program that's a part of the management service. So here's the first year cost. So just to give you a feel for the 41 vehicles that we're bringing for this first phase of the 4-year replacement cycle, that's a $260 is the lease payment, and that includes all the amortization of that vehicle is in there. Then the one-time non-capitalized, so there's an amount that you can capitalize in there, but then there's a point where you reach where any of those additional aftermarket items have to be paid as a one-time payment. And so that's what that number is. Then the annual maintenance, because part of this program is that they'll handle all of the maintenance on these vehicles, on these 41 vehicles will be covered under their maintenance program. Then a fee to sell the 41 existing vehicles that we have. And then we've subtracted out the revenue that we expect to receive for those vehicles, and so that gets us to the $225. So some of the benefits that we're going to see from this is a lower cost of ownership. We're going to see a higher resale value than we currently do. With that, we'll also see lower maintenance costs because it's a 4-year program, better fuel economy from these units. And one of the big things is the newer technologies. A lot of the technologies are changing quite a bit right now. And this also includes safety technologies. So it provides us a safer fleet for our employees and the citizens through this program. And this will allow the fleet division to focus more on the emergency vehicles and the heavy-duty vehicles, which is what we spend most of our time on. So the 195 small vehicles, allowing enterprise to manage those will be a benefit to us. And so with that, I'll answer any questions.
Any question, Mr. Archer?
Mr. Archer, do you know what the average age on those vehicles will be selling is right now?
I don't. I think it's right at 9 years, though. Mm-hmm.
And we're going to go down to 4 years.
Down to 4 years. Now one of the things that makes this so attractive for us, we had a 9-year replacement cycle. But what happens each year is we say, hey, let's hold that vehicle another year. And then we keep doing that and we keep doing that. And it kind of puts you in a position where, okay, to get us back in line, we're going to have to come up with some money. So actually having this enterprise lease program available to us allows us to instantly catch up and puts us in a good shape.
Mr. Archer, I have a couple of questions, a question and a comment. So in doing this lease purchase, this lease thing, does this save the city of Longview money?
It does. Let me show you one more chart that I had, and it was just in case questions about finances came up. I had it available to us. So this kind of compares a 9-year replacement plan to a 4-year replacement plan. So you can see those costs listed there, and it actually is cheaper to go with their 4-year replacement plan than continue our 9-year that we're still behind on. So we would still have to come up with some more capital to catch up to this plan that shows on the left here than it would be to go with the 4-year replacement with Enterprise. So there is a savings there.
Okay, but that savings there is $2,000.
Yeah, it's not much, but like I said, we'll have to come up with capital immediately to start trying to catch up because we're not at the 9-year replacement. Actually, if you remember when Nathan was here last time, he talked about a 6-year replacement cycle, or 16 years, excuse me. 16. Because that's how long, if you actually took the number of vehicles we have and divide them by, each year, you'd end up at, hey, we're at 16 years to get all those done. Because we have not been doing, even like last year, for instance, we had $220,000 of small vehicles we purchased, which is nowhere near the $650 we really needed to be doing.
Right. Okay, so I get that. So in the long term, this saves us money.
Yes, sir.
We get better, newer vehicles, obviously, in our fleet, which is a benefit.
Yes, sir.
But it's my understanding that we can opt out anytime we want to, right?
That's right. We sure can.
So if we see this as not being a good deal, we can opt out.
Yes.
Okay.
What do we do to replace the vehicles if we opt out?
We'd be right back where we were if we never went into it. So to come up with the money.
But we've already sold those cars off, so how do we have to go out and buy them again?
You can buy them from them.
Buy the cars that we're leasing?
Mr. Vick-
There's some equity that we have to pay them for
Okay.
on that unit.
So is there a term on this? 1 year, 2 year, 5 years?
This is 4 years.
Okay.
But we can opt out.
Yeah. And what'll happen in 4 years is, on these vehicles, every year they're going to come to us and say, here's a list of the vehicles that we recommend that you do this year. This one right here, we're looking at the market. We think you ought to wait a year on that. So they're going to be providing us with analytics that we haven't had as far as what's going on out in the market, to be able to really say, a big company just folded and sold a bazillion cars. This is not a good year to sell. And so we'll have that information that we didn't have before.
Where is the maintenance going to take place on these vehicles?
They have a list of shops that they have partnered with that are local that will be doing the maintenance. Now, on some of the equipment, like we have in here, we have a bucket truck. Now, the chassis is going to be covered under the maintenance program. We're going to handle the bucket part of that truck in our shop.
So, Mr. Archer, what can you tell me about the fleet of cars? So I know historically we probably only used one manufacturer. What manufacturers will be using with this new fleet?
Well, what they'll do is they'll go out and say, hey, this certain manufacturer right here is going to give you the best bang for your buck, and they're going to do the analytics and say, this one's going to give you, not only might it cost you less up front, cost of ownership will be less, and when you resell it, you're going to sell it for more. That kind of stuff. They're going to be able to provide that to us, and we'll make decisions based on that information.
We will be able to promote domestically, correct?
Yeah, I think we always do. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. What about other competitive RFPs for the same type of service?
I have not seen anyone with this program.
Sure.
I've seen people that'll loan you money, but I've not seen people with this program. No.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Archer.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Mr. Archer? Is there a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Consider a resolution authorizing city staff to acquire certain property in the Greenbrier subdivision designated as parcels 219-H-001 and just a second, just wrong, and 219-T-001 by eminent domain in furtherance of traffic safety. Mr. Lorenzo, I have your speaker card. Would you like to speak now, sir?
I didn't realize I'd be speaking at this time. I thought I'd be in the regular general comments. Honorable Mayor, City Manager, council members, my name's Steve Lorenzo. I live at 401 Ruthlynn Drive in Longview, and I appreciate the opportunity to address the council. I'm sure y'all are all aware why I'm here. I sent everybody an email earlier in the week trying to describe my situation. And before you make any decision tonight on doing eminent domain, I would really like to state that I've always been willing to negotiate with the city to sell a portion of my property to improve visibility at the corner. I've always been open to that. I live there on the corner. I have been there for about 8 years, and I am concerned about safety at that corner. I travel through that corner several times a day. So I know the problems at the corner. I know everything like that. I have always been willing to relocate my fence on McCann Road after I put it up from the originally agreed to location once we determined that there was a line of sight problem. The question has always been exactly, where do we relocate that fence to? I don't want to be moving it 3 or 4 times, So at the time, the shrubs have been taken down, and at the time I thought it was necessary to get something put back up because I was having a problem. They were doing all the signal work on the corner, all the gas company, everybody's replacing all the lines, AT&T's replacing lines. They're driving up in my yard because they think that's all public property. I had a problem with people cutting across the corner, so I needed to get something up to try to keep all that traffic down that was cutting through my yard there on the corner. For me, my main goal would be for us to get together, relocate the fence to a point that saves the 100-plus-year-old oak tree sitting right there on McCann Road on my property. The proposed area now takes that tree out, saves all my shrubbery there on the side that helps grant privacy. It also doesn't have a large impact on my driveway. Right now, the way it's proposed, once the fence put up and the gate is put up, I'd have to back up about 200 feet around a maze, all the way around the back of the house, all the way up to the front. The garage is in the back. This proposal will take away my turnaround. And I also don't really feel that the current city proposal of $7,000 is adequate for the impact on my property, especially related to how it's going to impact the access through my garage.
Mr. Lorenzo?
Yes.
You get 3 more minutes because this is during an action item. Just let you know of your time frame, okay?
Oh, okay.
Thank you, sir.
So, and another thing I'm really not really sure about is the current city proposal recommends a sight line from my corner of 875 feet, which according to the guidelines the city gave me is for speed on McCann Road in excess of 70 miles an hour. So I don't understand why that much line of sight is needed, besides the fact that at 875 feet, the road has already dropped 12 to 15 feet, so you won't be able to see a vehicle coming from there. There's not really a good solution for this corner. The way it was laid out, the way it was originally laid out, the way it's done with everything is the road curves, the road drops, everything like that. There is a light there. There's always been a light there. But I would like to be able to sit down with the city engineer, look at the layouts of the corner, look at what the city needs, look at what my needs are, come to an agreeable solution of something that would allow us both to come out with a good solution to it. Allows the city to get the parcel of land they need, allows me to still be able to maneuver on my property. So if I'm not, if that's not possible, if I can't sit down with the city and negotiate on the working this out, then if for the parcel of land the city wants, I think they really should increase their offer because of all of the existing improvements that are going to be taken away from me that I've done on the corner. I've done a lot of work on that corner. I run sprinkler systems, done stuff like that, trying to get that corner looking nice, and also the impact that it will have on my property. And also, in addition, I was originally quoted a higher price per square foot for the land than is in the offer the city has given me. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Lorenzo. We appreciate you coming to visit with us tonight. Mr. McPhee, I know you have a presentation for us.
I do.
But before
I will make it brief.
Before you start that,
Yes, sir.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Is it possible to sit with Mr. Lorenzo and have a negotiation before we go through this eminent domain discussion?
I assure you that I would not bring this to you if I hadn't, and the city engineer hadn't met with him a repeated number of times to try and reach a proper resolution to this. It is an eminent domain request. For those of you that have known me and worked with me, is the item that I do not like bringing to you because it basically states I failed to negotiate a successful resolution.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So the right-of-way acquisition and area that we are speaking about is at the corner of 401 Ruthlynn. It is labeled 2019 H-001. This is the view for a vehicle sitting at the intersection looking to the north. The sight distance is inadequate for the current condition of the roadway. I have a motion, but before I ask for that motion, I'd like to entertain any questions that you may have of me.
Any question, Mr. McPhee?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Moore?
I went out to the intersection, and you're right. I mean, it's probably the worst sight distance intersection I have found in Longview. But my question is, for eastbound traffic on Ruthlynn, when they get to the intersection, we have no right turn on red signs there already. Doesn't that fix the problem right there?
So theoretically, you could say that that fixes the problem. The one thing that you have to consider is many people believe that an intersection governs all drivers' actions. Unfortunately, for those of us that live in communities, we see people traverse through signals when they are red. That's unfortunate, but it is the reality. Within even the standards of the transportation guidelines, they talk about traversing intersections, and just because you have a signalized intersection does not mean that both drivers should not have the adequate sight distance for that geometry. So in other words, if I'm pulling up to that, if I get a green signal, if I'm going green when it turns green and have a choice to look, I actually glance before I drive because I want to make sure that everyone's paying attention to the same laws governing the roadway. Unfortunately at this, if the light turns green, I would really have to hope that other people were making the proper decision and the decision would not be in my hands.
So this is for the benefit of southbound travelers on McCann approaching this intersection too, that they have the sight distance, that there's a vehicle waiting to go across.
Yes, sir. It benefits both drivers.
Okay, so if we do this and it's all finished and done, does that mean we can remove the no right turn on red
That's
signs?
a great question. I would tell you that what we would do is we would remove the impediments and the things blocking vision to the drivers, and at that time that becomes done, we would ask that the traffic engineer and the city engineer review the actual location to make sure whether or not that sign comes down or not. So it's really one of those things that we believe it would be able to, but we really would withhold judgment till after the obstructions are removed.
Thank you.
Would you go back to the original, can you go back to the one that showed kind of that one? I just had a question about, so on that, where you've got the red marked, is the one following it is that right of way there? That little orange segment behind it?
To the north?
Yes.
To the north. No, that is not.
It is not?
It is actually a lot that I spent a lot of time researching that development to the north, which was, I believe, the Huey Crest subdivision. McCann Road was widened in about 1966 from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. The development that's on Ruth Lane was constructed or developed when McCann was 2 lanes. The plat just to the north was developed after the McCann Road was widened. So I would anticipate, it seems intuitive to me that they sort of addressed that site angle in the development of Huey Crest, although I can't substantiate, that's purely speculation.
Because it's somewhat unusual for us not to have that right of way already. Is that fair to say?
That's correct. Normally, what you would expect is that when the property was developed, you would look in the deed records and they would have restrictions on that. But there may have been other pipelines at the time that prevented it, and that's why they broke that out as lots.
Or as a result of the expansion and then just being too close. I do want to just make sure, because eminent domain is a drastic measure that we don't do on a monthly or regular basis. So it is a serious process that we need to consider. So our offer is how much currently to the homeowner?
So the offer that I presented in executive session, we had the appraisal updated actually to provide for some of the things that Mr. Lorenzo had expressed that he had concerns about. We've not delivered that appraisal yet. It is right at about $8,900 is the revised appraisal.
And do you know what his last counter to that was?
His last counter totaled somewhere in the neighborhood of $67,000.
So we're not really in the same ballpark as far as working out financially. Perhaps we could get together on where to put lines, but financially we've not really been able to get in the same
That's an accurate statement. I will tell you that when I come forward with trying to correct a problem, the last thing I want to do is come forward with something less than the standard. To date, some of the proposals that he's given us, that standard is still not met.
And just, from my perspective, we have to consider, I am very sympathetic to the issue. Eminent domain is a big deal. If you are the homeowner, I think we have to be very sensitive to that. But we also up here have to be sensitive to, we're talking about taxpayer money, taxpayer safety, everybody that's on that road. That is a safety issue that needs to be addressed. And if we can't do it without this, then we have to look at that.
I assure you, it's very difficult for me to bring these things to you for your consideration.
Okay,
Mr. Wright?
Wait a minute. I want everybody to understand that the tree and the monument sign are probably going to have to come down too because of the sight line, right?
Yes, sir.
And the residents have voiced to me that they would like to leave the monument sign. Is there any way to leave that monument sign that it's not going to affect the sight line there?
It's very difficult, if you knowing from construction, it's very difficult with a brick structure such as that to shave the brick at the line and leave the rest and still leave something that looks appropriate. The subdivision sign is actually, it's interesting, the subdivision sign is actually located on Mr. Lorenzo's property, so it truly is Mr. Lorenzo's property.
And since the fence has been put up, there has been an accident there, and a lady got T-boned. Well, it just basically caught the front of her car. And what it was another person was trying to speed through the light as they were coming around the curb. So I don't know whether they were doing 55 or 65 or what, but when the light changed, the lady on Ruthlynn was in her right. She took off like she was supposed to, but she still got hit. So it's just, you're not going to be able to judge human nature of what somebody's going to do coming through that intersection. And to me, it's always been a life safety issue. It has nothing to do with what costs what or what we have to do. I couldn't live myself if somebody pulled out there and got killed because I had the opportunity to stop it. So I'm the one that had the bushes pulled out to begin with because the residents in the neighborhood requested that something be done right there. So I'll take responsibility for that, but now it's become an issue of, I sat down with Mr. Lorenzo and staff in the room back there and we talked with him. And he is fully aware of what we wanted and what was going to happen. And so he has talked with some of us, and I don't know how many times he's visited with Rollin and them, but he has been made aware numerous times, I'm sure of what we needed to get done here. So I do not think staff has been delinquent on this.
Mr. Wright?
Yeah, let me just, one of Mr. Lorenzo's points was about how the road drops down and curves, so you won't be able to see, even if you open that all up, you won't be able to see 870 feet. Is that accurate, or?
I would say that we don't believe that to be the case. That is something that we've looked at.
Okay.
Any other questions of Mr. Wright?
I just want to go on the record of stating that, I think eminent domain is a very, very serious process when, us as a council or city government gets involved with, implications or implying on personal property of that sort. There's no, I'm not making any justification of right or wrong, just acknowledging and myself going on the record, especially for my constituents, if this ever happens in my district, that I do take that very serious. And, and I'm glad that members of this council are taking it serious, and those that are not, I hope they do. And just thank you guys, and just want to acknowledge the citizen as well.
Because, Council, we've said this many times, and I've stated it over and over. The primary function of city government is public safety, and this is a public safety issue. It's unfortunate that nobody's going to win on this. I mean, there's nobody going to win. Mr. Lorenzo, I feel for you, sir, because I know that you've done everything that you thought was right. I know when you put your fence up, I'm sure you did it with the thought that that was what the city said you could do. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out where they can still have the site like it needs to be. I'm sure, Mr. McPhee, you all have done everything to think about as far as engineering this to the nth degree. I'm sure we've thought about delaying that light to see if you could delay the light and let people stop. I'm sure you've done all that. I'm not questioning that. We've tried the right on red sign. And unfortunately, it's an impasse. And the impasse is something that's why someone has to make tough decisions sometimes, and that's going to be the council's decision. And I hate doing that because it's not fair to Mr. Lorenzo, because I know that's your property, sir, and I apologize for that. But as Mr. Pirtle said, if we sat here in good conscience, allowed someone to be injured or killed at that intersection, we would basically be responsible for that. I'm sorry. That's not the intention of this council. This is not a personal thing with you, sir. You've done nothing to us to offend us or make us upset with you. It has nothing to do with you personally. And so I just want you to know that. That's how we feel, and we don't, as you can see, this is not something we enjoy doing. This is the first time we've done this since I've been the mayor that I can remember, and I wish it didn't have to be done. So with that said, Mr. McPhee, you have a proposal for us?
I do. I'd like to ask that you make the following motion. On behalf of the Department of Public Works, I move that the City of Longview implement eminent domain proceedings to acquire certain real property interest in the Hamilton-McNutt Survey, A-129, City of Longview, Gregg County, Texas. Said property interest consisting of a parcel of land of approximately 1,950.93 square feet, parcel 2019 H-001, along with temporary construction easement consisting of approximately 854.79 square feet, parcel 2019 T-001, all of said parcels being a portion of the same tract of land, being part of the called part of lots 1, block 1041, Greenbrier subdivision, conveyed from the estate of Benjamin Franklin Martin to Stephen Lorenzo by the deed recorded in 20119479, official public records, Gregg County, Texas. Said tract, said parcel, and said temporary construction easement all being more particularly described in attachment A of the resolution before you tonight, for the purpose of increasing traffic safety and visibility at the intersection of McCann Road and Ruthlynn Drive by removing obstructions as required.
So is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir. We're on items of community interest. Mr. Moore.
For my sesquicentennial moment this evening, I would like to re-emphasize our request for ideas to put in the time capsule that will be located somewhere on the library property. We really need to know what we want to put in there so we know what size time capsule to buy and how much it will cost. And toward that end, I would like to challenge the 7 of us to each come up with an idea to put in the time capsule and give said idea to Ms. Hill, just to start it off where we can get some sorry. Miss Snotty said her husband. That kind of broke my train of thought. You probably didn't want me reading that, did you? Deadline for these ideas is September 4th, and the city's historical commission will decide which items we'll put in. But again, I want to emphasize we really need some thoughts and ideas on this. Second, I just want to remind people of the Historical Marker Workshop day after tomorrow, Saturday, 10 a.m. in the Development Services offices. If you're interested, 903-237-1072 is the phone number. Thank you.
I'm going to skip you, Ms. Snoddy. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I mean, it was just an idea if you could just put him down and dig him up when you get ready. That maybe a thought. Big shout out to Trent Williams, been one of the biggest go-givers we have here in the city of Longview. He's a member, I'm sorry, an athlete with the Washington Redskins. He had his annual football camp here, and this year he expanded. Not only did he do the football camp, but he also had a celebrity basketball game and a concert, probably 2,500 people and participants. So shout out to Trent. It was a great day. The other gentleman is Antonio Brown. I don't know the team he plays for, but I don't know much about, I just know the Redskins and sometimes the Cowboys. But just a great big shout out to Trent. There's a church in District 2, Church on Purpose, and they have an organization called I Serve. Well, they approached me. They were needing a project to do, and normally what they do is go around and like rebuild vamps or work on people's homes. And I was like, well, I think I have a project. I don't know if it's something you want to do, but those guys came out. We cleaned out an alleyway that is between Harrison and Park Street within my district. It was an alleyway that years ago as a little girl I can remember riding my bicycle through. I can remember my grandmother walking through that alleyway, and over the years it had become where you just could not, there was not a pathway or safe pathway. This is the aftermath of everything. So great big shout out to I Serve for a job well done in the community, and I hope that we can maintain that. And great shout out, big shout out to Public Works for picking up everything after we finished with it. There will be a public meeting to discuss the development of a new entryway monument at Marvelly Avenue and Estes Parkway, Tuesday at 6:30 p.m., July 30th, Allen Room, LeTourneau University. So if you guys have any input or ideas or suggestions about a monument, please be there. Hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr.
Oh,
Wade.
happy birthday, Ray. I know it's coming up.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, plug.
Yes.
Mr. Wade.
Kudos to the city of Longview for the 4th of July celebrations. It was amazing to see so many people from Longview out celebrating that. I know it was mentioned earlier, and I'm sure it'll be mentioned again, but I was really, really happy to be a part of it, and that's actually my photo from my own personal camera phone, so thank you guys for including that. One of the things I want to mention before we move to this, I was part of a meeting with Aon Manufacturing Company, which is in District 3 on Gum Springs Road. Aon, which is an HVAC manufacturing company, has just made an investment in District 3 for $28 million, which is gonna also produce around 125 jobs in District 3. That's a huge accomplishment for District 3. I was happy to take part in those meetings. Fortunately, I don't have photos from that meeting, but I took a tour of the company. Just want to tell Aon, thank you for your continued support in District 3, and hopefully I can have something to show on that behalf. Other than that, my contact information, I really appreciate all of the phone calls and emails and interest from people in District 3. You know, I really kind of pride myself on following up with everyone. My cell phone has gone through some rehab here recently, so if I don't get back to you here or haven't gotten back to you in the last week, it's because it's being operated on, but should be up and operating soon. Mayor, thank you very much, sir.
Hope it lives, Ray. Hope
Yes,
it lives.
sir.
Ms. Ichihara.
Nothing from me.
Mr. Wright.
I have one thing for Spring Hill and District 5. I noticed in the paper the other day that we're discussing the park meetings, and they said the one Mr. Moore had was the final park meeting. Well, we're going to have a meeting about Spring Hill Park. However, that won't be until around 2023, so we're not in any big hurry to have that meeting. So anyway, I just want to assure you that we're not being forgotten.
Thank you. Mr. Pirtle.
I want to thank Public Works. I've gotten numerous calls on debris all over town in my area that they're picking up, and I've had some complaints too, but I wanted to let everybody know that they're behind and they're doing the best they can. And if you hadn't seen that mountain out there at the compost site, you are missing a sight. I've never seen so many trees in my life, so they're doing a good job.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, before you begin,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to say a happy belated birthday to Councilwoman snotty. That just kind of slipped my mind there as I was.
She prompted you and you blew it, right? Yeah.
My birthday's on the 4th of July.
It was on the 4th of July, so I don't want to end up in that time capsule. With her husband.
He forgot. Mr. Bonds.
Yes, I have a list of some other employees other than police and fire that celebrated their tenure here with the city. So this photograph of the whole group, but two of the ball field maintenance crew members that have the honor of working with Mr. Karen every day, Will Jones and Larry Kirkland, celebrating 5 years with the city. Rollin had a couple of guys that work in water distribution and wastewater collection, Lloyd Caldwell and Albert Chapman, both celebrating 5 years, as well as Gary Witt, serving 5 years in water distribution and wastewater collection. That's a tough job, those guys out there digging ditches every day and keeping our water flowing and sewer going the right direction every day is hard work. Randy Drigger's there 10 years as a water treatment plant operator and the longest tenured in public works. We celebrated Keith Murray 15 years at the Lake of the Pines water treatment plant is one of the plants he's been working at. Angela Alvarado works in the city prosecutor's office, and she celebrated 5 years, so we didn't have her picture, but
Thank you, sir. We have some events coming up. We have the Itty Bitty Beach Party on July the 13th, the Summer Read Club End Party on July the 24th, the Dive-In Movie on August the 3rd. And upcoming community events, we have the Great Texas Balloon Race, July 26th to the 28th. Always a favorite of everyone's. The Alleyways Beer Bust on July 27, and the American Kennel Club Dog Show on July 27-28. For more information about city events, go to longviewtexas.gov/calendars. And for community events, longviewtexas.com/events. Thank you all. Now, survey time. Were you able to attend, I thought this was very appropriate for where we are right now, were you able to attend one of the city town hall meetings on how to improve our parks? Yes, no, or I don't even know about what you're talking about. So 81% said yes. 81% of people said they attended, which I think is great that they said that.
Said no.
Oh, I mean, no, yes. 81% said no. Because I know that because I know we had like 5 total meetings, and we had an average of 20 people per meeting outside of city staff. So what I want to talk to you about that is this. There's $25 million that's going to be spent on our parks. $25 million on the bond. 5 meetings, 20 people per meeting, so only 100 people are participating in spending $25 million. So either you're apathetic to what's going on or you have full trust in this council sitting up here. I like to think of the latter. But if not, you need to contact your council representative. If you want to have something done or to be heard, please do it before the fact and after the fact. After the fact, complaining doesn't do any good, and we can't change it at that point. So if you have a concern about the parks and how we're going to spend the money, please contact one of us. Every one of our numbers are available, just like Mr. Wade showed you on that screen. Every one of our numbers are available. We answer our calls every day. If you have a concern, you want to voice an opinion, please contact us. This is why I had this survey question, because I had a feeling it wasn't going to be great attendance. It's the same with the bond. You know, people complained about the bond after the bond passed. Well, you had ample public meeting to go to before the bond was ever put up for vote. So if you want to have input, please take the time to have input. We want your input. That's why we have public. City staff has to go to these meetings. They have to take their time away from their families. We go to these meetings, take time away from our families. We want input. So write it down, send it to us, call us, email us. We will get it on. And you know, when we have these public meetings, just like at Mr. Moore's last week and this week, they ask people to write things down on a card. You know why they do that? So that we can compile the data and they can make comparisons on what people are saying, so it's not just word of mouth. He said, she said. You write it down, we have record of it, we can put it on a piece of paper, we can put a spreadsheet, we can tell you, this is what most people want to have in our parks. You know what? That's how something gets done. When that's what most people want, that's what we do, because that's what we're here for, is to provide for the majority of people that want to have an input. So I beat that horse enough. So you understand what I'm saying? If you want to have input, okay? But don't complain after the fact, because we give you every opportunity in the world to come out and have these meetings. 5 of them already. come see us, all right? Thank you. Okay. Have you attended the Great Texas Balloon Race in recent years? There are your choices. Okay, the winner, 33%, I haven't been in a long time. Well, 26% been in a time or two, 23%, of course, I go every year. Okay, those are good percentages. So people have been to the balloon race, most of them. It's coming up. It's going to be a fantastic event. It's a fun time for a family to go out. Children, adults alike. There's no age limit to how much fun you can have the Great Texas Balloon Race event. So look up on the website. We just talked about it. Go to the calendar, see when it is, see where it's going to be. Make plans to attend. It's a great time to be with your city and the people that live in your city and the people that don't live in your city. A lot of people come to this event that don't live in our city. So great time to communicate. So with that, we are going to now retire into executive session to discuss personnel matters under Texas Government Code Section 551.074. Consider, discuss, and deliberate performance evaluation of the following city manager and municipal court judge. We will not reconvene when the executive session is completed. Thank you.